Is the front door unlocked?
It should be.
Okay.
Mr. Harris, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
I'm good to go.
All right.
I'm going to mute back out of here.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Holler if you need me.
Yes, sir. Misty, can you hear us?
Oh, I was muted, but yes, I can hear.
Misty, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, good. I have no clue what I did.
I've been able to hear you. I'm not sure what.
Okay.
I guess you couldn't hear me.
Well, I had it muted in here, and I had it muted in two different spots. My fault. I'm learning too many things at one time. Somewhere down the line, I deleted the script for tonight. So I'm trying to find it again and get you a copy of it. So I'm working on that. Too many feet in the car. I made it script with time. Get it back.
Hello.
No.
Just put my things up here. Thank you.
Had a root canal. That root canal never had like, yes. I thought it was so strange that, like, you know, they did this little Q-tip thing with the numbing stuff. Come in and give me shots right behind that, and then he just started working immediately. Like, and you think that sounds bad, but I was numb and I was ready to go, and it was weird.
This feels good.
And I'm like a horse, like I need lots of shots.
Yeah. I hate shots. I hate shots. I hate shots. I can deal with a lot of other stuff, not a shot. Let's go, Daddy.
Going. Catch up on some emails they just gave me. I said, well.
Misty or Angel, whenever y'all are ready to start the meeting, if you'll hit the pound sign on that keypad right there in front of you, it'll turn the microphone back on.
How's the summer workouts going, Coach P?
So he can hear me?
I don't think so. I think you need to.
Yes, he can.
Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yeah, not bad. I mean, other than last week when we had to take that break off.
Yeah.
And really, that was UIL recommendation, but I mean, we've been, this week, I guess, this week, today we had about 15 kids total, but we've been averaging about 25 boys and about 25 girls. I mean, so our numbers have been really good. But I think that break kind of threw things off. Girls didn't have anything today, so.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it looked like a bunch.
The only thing I worry about is how hot it is and we can't provide them water. I mean, that's still my,
Yeah.
and I don't even know how.
Yeah.
Because with the UIL, they even kind of mentioned, even once school gets going, until they release that they can do that, that we really can't do that. I mean, So it's either buying a lot of cups or, I mean, I don't know. I don't know the best way to do it. I mean,
See, I ordered some new coolers today for our building so you could have yours back, because I thought
Right.
the gym and stuff, y'all are gonna have to go with cups rather than water fountains and stuff. I mean, I know water fountains is not,
because we have a handful of them and just, so on game days is really the only day, so I don't want y'all to be, obviously,
I ordered some.
obviously they belong to us, but I also don't want to sit there and go, well, I'm sorry, little kid, you don't get any water because
Yeah.
we need them. I mean, that's not right.
I
So,
thought y'all need yours back and we're gonna need them for the long haul.
I was going to order a few more as well. I mean, once I could, but.
I ordered probably a cheaper version than what you had, but. Well, I'm gonna get started, I think. I don't know. I'm just gonna go through this real quick. It's the audit, but we pretty well heard it. So if y'all wanna listen from where you are, that's perfectly fine. So, okay. I don't know where to stand. I'm fine with not being on camera, but
That's your back.
this way. Okay. I'll come back here.
Here you are.
You're good.
Just wait a second. Okay, so I'll go ahead and get started. The purpose of the meeting today is just to fulfill our summer requirement to have a safety team meeting. And the only agenda item today is to review our actual safety audit. I think the last meeting that we had for the spring semester, we discussed that we would get this and we got it the day after. So it kind of seems like that's how that works sometimes. But as with any other safety audit I've ever been a part of, there's a lot of positive and then some areas to work on. Mr. Carter, is there anyone on besides school people?
Currently online is Mr. Harris, myself, and then anyone in the boardroom.
Okay, sounds good. I know sometimes you have to be a little bit careful who's listening, who might have, because you don't want just the general public hearing our safety concerns. So
This is public. This is on YouTube.
okay. Will you have copies of the safety audit deficiencies here that we do have going, that we're working on? So I gave you a copy of the full audit report that we received from Region 14. I also gave you a copy of what Mr. Cook kind of broke apart the deficiencies that we had, and he assigned those deficiencies out to us for each of us to have a few responsibilities for getting those deficiencies taken care of. So I think that Mr. Cook, we appreciate that. It was a really good way of making sure everything gets taken care of kind of within our wheelhouse. So a lot of the things, there were some signs missing, things like where do you go in case of fire? A couple of the rooms were missing, things like that. I think the one place that was missing everything was the ag department, all of those signs, and there weren't enough in the gym. Our buildings were in pretty good shape. The elementary building, about half of the rooms were missing one of the primary signs that we're supposed to have, and it's this shelter lockout symbol page. So that has been updated in all of the buildings. I know we've been working slowly on some of these things, and then like on the first page, the playground, because it is open, physically open, if people want to play there outside of school hours, we have to post signs with age of uses, supervision required, and not provided by the district, and that the district is not liable for injuries. So we have to order some things to take care of that. Those sign blanks have been ordered. So just things like that are being taken care of. We have a lot of old emergency lighting in the district. That was an issue in a lot of those places, like the auditorium. And it's like on the exit signs, there should be emergency lights that work, and those exit signs should be lit up. And in several places, that was not the case. So we need to do some updating on things like that. Some of our rooms don't lock. The nurse's office doesn't lock, and that's one that he wanted to make sure is locked up. Now, anything like medications or anything are locked in the cabinet. So, if they're getting in there, I guess they could, if someone that didn't have any business being there would have access to, Band-Aids,
tongue depressors, things like that, some basic supplies, but not any medication or anything. So there are some places like water stained towels are on the audit to get some attention. In the science lab, there were several areas that they didn't find, like the master shutoff for switches and things for gas, water, and electric. Those were not in there, I think, probably due to the age of the building. Some of those things are not as current as they should be, as we'd like to see them. So some of those things are, a lot of these are fixable. Some of them are not fixable without some projects. So hard to fix some of these. And I will say a lot of these things are recommended, but they're not necessarily required. So some of these things, if we don't fix, there's not necessarily a fix to them. But
so which ones indicate that are what are recommended and what's required?
there's not really an
Is there an indication
for,
on here?
no.
Okay.
And there's also not necessarily, I don't know if there's really a penalty for fixing these. I will say a lot of the ones on this one are identical to the one 3 years ago. So some of these things don't necessarily have a fix. So, and you know, some things are interesting the way they change. Like this has that the library doesn't have window shades. They wanted window shades on the windows, but that kind of is a swing. You know, sometimes they want you to be able to see in the room for safety, and sometimes they want you not to be able to see in the room for safety. So it's hard to, with anything like that, it's hard to know what the rules are which day. So
That's when that entry,
mhm.
you gotta be 7 foot tall and be looking at those.
Yeah. They don't, well, I guess the library is the only room with a low window if you're on the inside, with the exception of the halls. On the junior high side, it has
That's right,
the
on the
walls.
side.
So, like I said, now that one does have blinds in it, but I think it has a curtain in it. I think he was talking about the hall side, like when you walk in the front door, you can see right into the library. So, again, while things like that are built for aesthetics, I guess it's not safety standard. Mr. Carter and I did talk about some of the recommendations we've seen for things like that before are putting the film on the glass where you can't see in, but anyone else can see out. So that might be something we are able to look at some point. So
Maybe we can use some of that safety grant money, because we did put some aside for that.
we talked about that in the offices too, like where, you know, if anybody can see out but can't necessarily see in, because in all of our offices, if there were to be an emergency, there's a lot of window in the office. So that's kind of elementary and high school both. So
I drove by Valley Mills schools one time, and their windows facing the highway were, they had their logos on them, like they were the Eagles. So their logos was real colored and pretty, but you couldn't see in. But from the inside, I know they can see out. You know, that's kind of neat.
I have seen that since, one of the place I saw it was at the Taylor County Expo Center, where it has it's like they're like horses and things like that. Really pretty mural type things on the windows, but where you could see out from the inside. So that is neat. Again, just some signs in several places. Evacuation. Our steroid notices were not present in the gym. Those are things that are up. And I think they get moved as like a basketball fan signs get put up and things, because I have seen them not that long ago. But so things like that are kind of hard to keep current when you have other people in there so much. They wanted our exterior doors numbered on the outside. That's not anything I've ever heard before. You know, we have to attend these safety trainings every year. So like if you are standing outside, you might be able to say exit number 4, high school exit number 4, you know, and so you'd have to be able to, I guess they want those labeled and coded. So.
Probably for the police or something.
Right.
Whoever you're talking to would have to have a mouth before.
Yes. Yes. Very much is the case, I believe. So. The bus stop loading zones are clearly marked, and things like that are sometimes, I feel like, you know, everybody here knows where they are. So it's, you know, a kind of a big school rule doesn't necessarily apply to a small town. So we can work on those things. So Fire zones are clearly marked. We have some work to do on that. Parking lots and their boundaries are not identified. I mean, I don't know if they want fencing or, and they don't really tell you the fix to some of these things, so that's kind of up to interpretation to figure out what that means. One of the things he said about the parking lot is that there shouldn't be named parking spots, which we do have. So, we did that as a fundraiser, that we had because they said if you drive up and see that the principal spot is empty, that tells you something about the campus. So anyway, something else to think about. One thing that has, in any safety audit I've ever heard, they talked about the ground cover not being thick enough for the playground. So he said he didn't feel like pea gravel, and this is Ronnie Kincaid from Service Center, so a long time of experience in this area. He didn't feel like pea gravel was an area that was a material that would even continue to be an option. So that's going to be something that we'll have to look at some point, is updating that pea gravel to something thicker that you don't have to maintain and keep filled all the time. So, and the S hooks on the swings, I've heard every time they want the C clip connectors that screw down, so they're not pinch points. Our drills and documentation, we were in good shape on that up until we closed school. So we had not completed the year, but we should have been here for another 2.5 months. So like we should have done a second tornado drill, and the national day for tornado drills is in March sometime. And so we didn't get that completed, but we were on track to be in good shape there. One thing they asked us about was a Knox box for the school building for a secure key storage for our first responders. And that's not something that we have. It's not anything I had ever heard about, but it'd be like for the sheriff's department to access a key box outside of the building that they can get a master key and get into any of our facilities with. So, but that was an interesting thought. So
Makes sense.
mm-hmm. The ag shop had some concerns, things like, the signs, like I said, master shutoff switches for water, gas, and electricity. There's not any water to the building at this point, so that didn't, he still wanted to find that because there were fixtures. So a goggle sterilization cabinet, things like that were not there. And I guess things like that will be even more important this coming year as we.
Should be an eye wash there also.
I think there's an eye wash station, but again, there's no water to it. So, I mean, it's physically there, but not operational.
Is that
So,
bathroom in the corner?
if it's not there,
It used to
it's
be right there where.
close to it,
the
I think
faucet
so.
used to be right there.
Yeah.
There's water to that for that bathroom. Unless something happened through the years that shut it off.
They don't use the bathroom. It's not functional at all. So I don't think they have water to the building now.
In there.
Yeah.
Like a storage room.
So another one was first aid kit stocked, accessible, and mounted visibly. They were visible. They weren't mounted on the wall. My assumption is they took it down and used something from it and didn't mount it back. So things like that. Eye wash station was present but not functional because there's no water. Emergency shower present but not functional due to water. Welding tanks are secured to the wall or carts, including empty tanks awaiting pickup. So there's like a cage thing in there, and anything that had materials in it was locked up, and the empties were sitting out. So anyway,
That's empty and full.
okay.
Secured.
It was fairly cluttered at the time, but it usually is not that way. So I think maybe they had been working on something recently when we were in there, but I had been in there several other times this year that it was not cluttered at all. Yes.
You may have said this before and I may have been out, but a lot of these recommendations, they are recommendations. We had no level 1 high security. So when we hear this list, it's not something that everything has to be done by a certain day. So yes, there's a lot of the things, we just have to correct the things that we can. These are things that highlight from safety security experts. So, I mean, just so when you kind of see the list may be long, but it's not things that are everything has to be done by September 1, if that makes any sense. Is that correct, Ms. McWilliams?
Correct. There's not a date. Like I said, this report, a lot of the things on it were on our last one. So there's, like I said, not an immediate and sometimes not really a fix for it. So there are, like I explained earlier, Mr. Cook assigned the ones that we can take care of. He assigned them to us to take care of. And so I expect those to be, as many of them as can be, to be in good shape by start date. So
Some of these will be addressed too after November 3rd. I mean, once we know
if we have a bond
if
coming
we
or
have a
not.
bond coming or not,
Right.
you know, if it passes or not, then we'll know where we need to direct funds to.
Right.
Like the eye wash station. I mean, if we're going
Right.
to get a new ag shop, I mean.
It doesn't make sense to, same with the science lab and things like that, that some of our facilities are not current enough to address those things. If they're going to remain functional, then we need to probably update them to current standards, so. But that's all I have, and that's all we have to address tonight. Do you have any questions or?
Some of that stuff is grandfathered, they say, with our building, or is it no longer a
I-
factor?
Well, there's not really a penalty to not meeting some of these things, so I think they acknowledge that there's not necessarily a fix to the meter, so, but they are things that if they're not present, they document and just move on, so.
I could suppose they had to install the button in there for the gas and that science went up before they do.
Well, and I think Ms. Moore could probably address some of these things. You know, normally the safety audit is performed during a school day, and in this situation, Mr. Kincaid and I were here, not completely by ourselves, but we did the walkthrough by ourselves. I do feel like a lot of the things on the science lab, Ms. Moore could have showed us, and because really, if he didn't see it, he had to mark it. That does not mean it's not there. So I think she could address a lot of those things. Right. So I have walked through the building earlier in the year with the fire department, with the volunteer fire department, just for the sake of, you know, them being a little bit familiar, because some of them had not been on there. The ones that were here had not been on campus in a long time. So, and at that point, Ms. Moore, I think, was out of the room, but her students showed us several things that they asked about. So I think she does a really good job of informing her kids where things are and are supposed to be and how to use them. And so they were, props to her for those kids knowing well what they were supposed to be doing. So anyway, that's all I have. And this will satisfy our safety requirements for the 1920 school year. We'll have to have them again for next school year in fall, spring, and summer. So one each session.
The next audit is 3 years.
3 years from now, yes. So hopefully there will be people on campus and everything will be closer to normal. So appreciate you participating, and that's all.
Thanks. Thank you.
So,
Mr. Kelly said he's stuck at work right now, so he may be late.
Do what?
Mr. Kelly may be
Okay.
late, he's stuck at work.
Okay.
Coach Pantoja,
Yes.
can you use the remote and hit the mute button? Is there a remote there?
Usually red. Oh, it's got it.
is that the,
Turn red.
just kidding.
Mute button. I'll be there. Okay.
Carter, I'm getting a message whenever I try to sign in that won't let me sign in.
All right, I'm on my way.
You
All right. We're a little late, aren't we? Oh, we're, there we go. At this time, before we get started, I'm gonna ask Mr. Cook if he will lead us in a word of prayer.
Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Just thank you for the blessings you give us, Lord. Just to continue to put your protection on our county or community or school or staff, students during this time. And Lord, if they do get COVID, get sick, heal them as quickly as possible, Lord. And Lord, just thank you for all the board members here and all the time and energy they put into the efforts of serving our students, Lord. And Lord, just thank you for sending your son Jesus down on the cross for our sins and his resurrection so that we can have eternal life in heaven. And I hope we honor and glorify you in the things we say and do tonight. It's in your son's name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. At this time, I call this regular meeting of the Roby's Board of Trustees, the Roby Consolidated Independent School District to order. Today is Monday, July the 13th, 2020, and the time is now 7:32. Mr. Carter, at this time, would you call roll, please?
Yes, sir. Currently present in the boardroom is Jeff Posey, Stormy Raspberry, Danny Carrion, Dakota Raspberry, and Keith Cook and Angel Pantoja. On virtual is Mark Harris, Jason Carter, Kendra Lakey, Misty McWilliams.
All right. We do have a quorum. At this time, is there anyone, Mr. Cook, who has petitioned to have anything to say in the open forum?
No, sir, I just checked my email.
Okay.
I was gonna check outside, but I think they signed.
All right. Then if not, at this time, we'll recognize our principal of student staff. Do we have any staff or students to recognize at this time?
I have one, just to let you know, Mr. St. John, our ag teacher, and his wife just had their first child. And, I think his name is Hayes, little boy, and mom's healthy, baby's healthy, and they're back at home now. So congratulations to them.
Absolutely. Great. Glad to hear that. Anything else? If not, we'll recognize Ms. McWilliams, the student principal of Student Affairs. Would you give your report, Ms. McWilliams?
Okay, I do not have too much to talk about, but I did want to just mention that we have scheduling completed for the summer. Our students all have their schedules ready to go. Teachers have been provided those schedules. And then we have, I think Mr. Carter will address this some also, but we have a survey that has gone out and have a decent number of our students whose parents have participated in that survey, giving us an idea of how many will be on campus and kind of so we can start planning on that for the fall. We have also been working with Cisco Junior College to get our dual credit courses lined up for the fall and have completed our safety team requirements for the year at this point.
All right, anyone have any questions for Ms. McWilliams? Thank you, Ms. McWilliams. Next, we'll have Mr. Carter, Principal of Teaching and Learning, give us a report.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and apologize ahead of time, but I've got two presentations that I'll give you guys, and so I'll try to go as fast as I can, but be as brief as I can as well. See if I can pull these up here. All right, can everybody see the technology overview presentation that's on the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, just want to take this opportunity to kind of go over, we've been talking for a while now about the need for looking at some technology upgrades and some technology additions, especially with our current situation. And so what I wanted to do was kind of put something more permanent in place for you guys to kind of be able to see it. I did pre-record this presentation and I did email it to all the board members. So you'll have that to kind of go over, refresh, and look at some of the information that's in here as well. I'm here to answer questions in any way that I possibly can. First, what I want to do is take over a kind of an overview of some data that might help shed some light on some of the needs as well as the district's position financially. Revenue by source, a brief overview of the funding sources indicate that we receive a large portion of our yearly revenue from local and state funds. You will notice that in part the district has leveled out the AY15 totals. This year's funding year is somewhat unsure. We do have some local, state, and federal unknowns. Additionally, the legislature convenes this January, which always is a trying time for the districts, as this is when the funding is decided for the next 2 school years. Looking at attendance rates, Roby is sitting in a steady and increasing position going into AY21. This position does lend some good news for the district, as ADA is the main element that drives the foundation school program, otherwise known as FSP. Currently looking at this year's data enrollment as of today. These are the current numbers of students returning. Those are in the light tan, and then new students to the district are in the dark green. You can see that the majority of the classes have numbers north of 20 students, which represents a healthy enrollment trend for us. But for the next 2 years, we'll have graduating classes with less than 20 students. But overall, we do have a healthy enrollment population. The Texas Education Agency has released new calculations that districts can use to receive ADA funding for AY21. Options include traditional in-class methods along with virtual methods to also receive full funding. We sent out a survey to our students and their families to get some projections on which method they were currently looking at for this year. The chart above shows the responses that we have received as of Friday. Students who have responded or have not responded represents those in the gray area. And then students that are thinking possibly that virtual is an option that they're looking at is in the light blue. And in the dark blue are those that indicated that they are definitely looking at and want to move forward looking at the virtual option. Now, I will preface this by saying that this was just a very quick survey. This is not without talking about the plan for next year. That's the next presentation I'll go over, is just kind of some thoughts we're working through. But remember that as we talked about in the other slide, ADA is a key driver for our state funding. So the option is, some schools are saying we're not going to do any virtual options. Well, look at that blue area and you will see that is a loss of funding revenue streams if we do not accommodate our students in the majority of the ways that we possibly can. And as we all know, and as you guys have gone through many different workshops, every student counts and every absent counts as well. This chart definitely shows that we do have a need for virtual instruction, especially for this year. And it shows that technology is going to be a vital a portion of our instructional plan for this year. Now, looking at our inventory, in 2017, the district made a very large purchase of technology equipment. This also included a donation from from a foundation there in Abilene that really helped us with some 50-50 matching. But we were able to get 34 iPad minis, 64 iPad Air 2s, 300 Lenovo and Asus Chromebooks, 58 Optiplex PCs. 25 of those were for the high school computer lab, and 33 of those were for the staff. We also purchased the Wi-Fi system that now runs throughout both of our academic buildings, along with storage cards, charging stations, projectors, and Apple Mac server. Thanks to you guys this year, this district purchased 24 new line interactive televisions that replaced our Promethean systems. These will be heavily used this year. Those Prometheans that we currently have that are working, that we'll be moving those out to areas that we don't have the TVs for. So we are definitely using as much as we possibly can. So we are very thankful for what you guys allowed us to do. Talking about some AY21 considerations, things we'll need to look at replacing and adding is distance learning equipment. That could be like webcams, microphones for our staff, possibly some digital pads for our math and science teachers to go over formulas with students, as well as some upgrades in some of our distance learning software. Chromebooks. Our Chromebooks are now out of date, and we are now running on no warranty. So we're kind of in a dangerous situation on that. iPads, many of our iPads are still operational. However, they are starting to have some glitches, and we are, again, out of warranty on those as well. And faculty computers, we are still able to use those. However, we're running into some issues from now and then, especially with the new software and the new interactive TV. So these seriously need to be looked at addressing in the next couple of months. Not saying that everything has to be done all at one time. I don't want anybody to pass out on me, by saying that. But we definitely need to look at ways that we can start addressing these issues. The plan that I currently have in place is that we're going to reuse as many devices as we can. And when we need to purchase additional software or equipment, we're going to purpose the new in the classroom and use the current devices for virtual learning, and possibly using those maybe for faculty to take home so that they can continue working from home on their lessons for upcoming assignments. Also, this is another consideration we have to think about, the replacements. Due to the current situation, every other district in the entire state of Texas and the country is trying to buy equipment. So, we're in a buying war. And so some of those things may be on back order, and we'll have to just kind of play that by ear. But really, honestly, the strategic planning part, which is kind of what we've always done, we're going to base our decisions on the final AY21 academic plan. What is our final plan going to look like? And then we're going to work to reuse faculty devices and other devices in the district as much as we possibly can before we go outside to try to ask for fund balance or anything like that. So more or less, this presentation was really geared to kind of give you some basic information. I don't have any quotes, and the reason why is because right now we're really kind of in that stage of not knowing exactly where we need to go, but just kind of getting some direction from you as to what you want to see, or what are you willing for us to look at, those types of things. And so those are just some considerations that I definitely want everyone to be able to have the information in front of you. By all means, we are not asking to spend, all of fund balance or anything like that, but just more or less we are in a desperate need, and I don't know if we're going to be able to address all those needs in the AY21 budget. So just so everybody understands that. Is there any questions on any of that I just presented?
I think it is important that we yearly continue to update our computer systems, our iPads and everything else. If we don't, we will come up to a point where we've got to spend just a heck of a lot of money to get updated. And that's where technology is going through the computer system. So keeping the school up to date, I think, is very important.
And I would like to add that Brian Loomis and Tempe West have done a phenomenal job in keeping all of our things up and running. And so we are desperately going to miss Miss West, and I will definitely be helping Mr. Loomis this year and trying to continue to keep our systems up and running, but definitely something that we are going to have to start looking at very, very, very soon.
Just out of curiosity, was there a reason for 7th grade and 1st grade high virtual numbers?
I'm going to comment here, not that I can tell. It just kind of happens to be a trend but not one that I can come up with any reason for. Now, our 7th grade class is the largest class in the district, so that contributes because they have more kids, but that they might have more staying home. But our 1st grade is one of the smaller ones, so I couldn't come up with a reason.
Okay, just kind of caught my eye that those two were kind of out of proportion for the rest of all the classes. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, are we ready for the other presentation now?
Any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Carter, have y'all reached out to anybody to see on any kind of availability, if you were speaking of?
Yes, there are different types of Chromebooks and stuff that are still available. It's just not the brands that we normally use. Now, that's not to say that the other brands are not good brands. I mean, we're still going to get warranty out of all of them. It's just one of those situations that as we get closer to school, those that are still there are going to be purchased by other districts. And so it's one of those things that the quicker that we are looking at possibly, purchasing, the better off we will be in kind of being in the front of the curve versus in the middle of the curve. But it's at that fine line of, we really don't have a lot of money left in the budget to spend this year. So anything that we do spend, and I'll just say this, I know that Ms. Lake will probably pass out when I say this, but I mean, it's just something that, I mean, we'll have to look at, how we can try to, use the money for, whether it comes out of fund balance or where.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, thank you. Next.
Okay, are you able to see the AY 2021 planning presentation?
Yes, we are.
Okay, I'm going to start out with saying this to you guys in the room, as well as those that are in TV land. This is a notice. This is not official. This is a working plan. This is not something that is Facebook official. And so just want everyone to understand that this is not official. This is a working plan. We are working through this. We still have many considerations to look at. And so a final plan will be coming as soon as we possibly can to give our families and our educators the opportunity to be prepared for this coming school year. So once again, I will say this is not official. This is a working plan. And the components that we're looking at right now deal with instruction, operations, safety, professional training, communications, and counseling and mental health. What we're going to focus on first is looking at the instructional methods. One of the things that we're definitely wanting to look at, especially when we talked about those presentational slides a minute ago on the bar graphs, is that we're really in the need of face-to-face option versus, and also a virtual option as well. And that both of those options are going to be designed to meet the TEKS and prepare our students to pass any needed STAR assessment. Now, as we all are aware, the Texas Education Commissioner has already made it very clear that there is no waiver this year for the state assessment as of this point in time. But, you know, again, that's as of now. So we have to plan that we will be taking the STAR assessment at the end of the school year. And that is for any student, not just the students that are on campus. It's any student that is enrolled at Roby CISD, either through a face-to-face option or a virtual option. Students and families will have the opportunity to choose the instructional plan each grading cycle. All of our students will currently, that are currently in the district, will start out in the traditional on-campus option. And then students that are wishing to move to the virtual option will be required to fill out a change request for instructional delivery form through the office. And that will allow us the opportunity to see who it is that's going to use the virtual option, as well as they understanding the rules and regulations and the requirements that are put on our students that are going to go virtual, so that we can count them present, they can get course credit, and there is no downside to that. So the next is students may choose a different option each grading cycle. I know that we have heard, many other districts have made the statement that they're going an all semester. It's my understanding, looking at TEA's documents, that we have to have that option each grading cycle. It cannot be one for a semester. So we will be doing it. So at each different grading cycle, if there is a student that wishes to change from virtual to traditional or vice versa, at the end of the grading cycle is when they would make that determination. Now, if there is, for some reason, some unplanned reason that is a good reason for them to change in the middle of the grading cycle, that will be reviewed and determined on a case-by-case basis. And if there's any questions while I'm going through this, please, shout it out, and I will be more than happy to answer as we go along, or we can wait till the end of the presentation. It's completely up to you guys how you want to ask questions, but I'm certainly, please chime in anytime that you want to.
Mr. Carter, when you talk about a case by case, does that mean that if someone gets sick during the semester or during the 6 weeks, they may be able to do homeschooling and then come back, or virtual schooling and then come back?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that would be an option. There would be other, there may be other extenuating circumstances as well. So, but that would definitely be one that we would have to look at, a change by change and how long that would be. But we are going to do our best to not have any of those unless absolutely necessary, so that our teachers are not planning a day-to-day switch for one student. So we're trying to make it as consistent as we can for students, staff, and parents.
Also, will that be an administration or will that be a staff decision?
Honestly, the committee makeup has not been determined, so we can make that however we want to. I don't have anything right now to say exactly who would be on that committee.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions so far? Okay. Also talking about the instructional schedule. Our goal is consistent, regular teacher interaction. It's what we want, and that is what our students deserve, and that's what we're going to give them, regardless of which option that they choose. Students attending a class on campus will interact directly with teachers as they did prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. Students selecting the virtual option will have the opportunity to join through Google Meets, which is the Google's version of Zoom, during class, regularly scheduled class times. Also, teachers will have a Google Meet set up during their conference periods that students are able to log in during their conference periods to interact with teachers as well. So we're trying to make as much consistent and regular teacher interaction as we possibly can without adding any more undue burden on our teachers, to the best of our ability. We certainly know that adding some of this is going to be additional, things that they have to do, but we're trying our best to minimize that to the best of our abilities. To the greatest extent possible, teachers will attempt to use the same materials and assignments for students in both options. And then we will put all of our materials in Google Classroom, which will give both parents and students access to see the materials that are being used, and a place to go to find all the resources. Students will who have chosen the virtual school option will may have to have alternative assignments to complete, but they will still be permitted to see all the relevant on-campus materials. So if we have a student that is taking virtual classes and their assignment is not able to be completed like it would be in a traditional classroom, they may have an alternative assignment, but they will still have access to all the documents that the in-class people use as well, so that they have all the information that they possibly need to be successful in the class with them. All materials and assignments given to the student in either setting will have instructional minute components added to ensure all students are meeting the required daily instructional time requirements. There is a lot of restrictions on what we have to do in order to count a student on what they call an asynchronous virtual option that is not live. Synchronous option would be live. We chose the asynchronous option. And so we just have to ensure that they are meeting the instructional minutes each day in order for them to be counted as present, and in order for us to receive ADA funding for those students. Any questions on that information there? Okay, communicating with students and families will be vital to implementing an asynchronous plan. We will use email, phone, parent square, as well as the primary modes, as well as Google Meets for live face-to-face communication with our parents. Excuse me. Curriculum alignment, that is that's high on our list. Every one of our TEKS is being met. We'll be using the Teach Resource System, as well as all the materials adopted through the Texas State Board of Education. That includes digital online components that can be used at home and assist with remote instruction. Student progress, that is something that we have to ensure that we are really focusing on this year, because again, what we talked about is the loss of learning opportunities last year. Roby CISD will use the DMAC program as what we use for primary data disaggregation tool that will collect all of our data. We'll use the state's optional beginning of the year assessments to identify students that need further additional foundational support. We'll use formative assessments in the classroom to make sure that students are understanding the instruction, they're comprehending the materials, and they're acquiring the necessary skills to be successful. Progress monitoring also includes recognizing students that have many learning gaps, and for some of our students, they will be significant gaps. And so we've got to be able to know what those gaps are, and we can start prescribing plans to get them as caught up as we possibly can, so that they are not further behind than they absolutely necessarily will be. Pre-kindergarten through second grade students will be administered a beginning and middle of the end of the year assessments, and they will be through the CLI Engaged platform. Those are ones that we currently do already, but we are still rolling that out. That will also include seventh grade as well. Students in classes where the STAR assessment is available will take the interim assessment for the prior year. What that allows the opportunity to do is see the foundational skills from the previous year. Did they receive all of the ones that are foundational for them to succeed in the next year? And if not, how do we mitigate that and to ensure that every student is able to progress? Students that are taking assessments may be required to have proctored assessments. So if it's a major exam, a 6 weeks exam, a unit exam, anything that's deemed as a major exam for teachers, they may be required either to come to campus if they're in a virtual learning environment to be proctored, or there could be virtual options for them to have that exam proctored there as well. So we're currently working through that, but that's currently how we are going to take care of assessments. Engagement monitoring. Students must be engaged to learn, and it's not only required, but it is expected. All students will be required to provide evidence of engagement, whether they are attending classes on campus or remote. And this is something that we are going to be talking with parents about is that engagement means engagement. And it is not just the students doing their work. It is parents ensuring that students are doing the work and students are turning in the work on time, so that they can both be engaged, they can be present in the classroom, and that they understand that if they are absent, that is considered an unexcused absence and could lead towards truancy. Google Classroom will be the document repository and online meetings for student families. We will be utilizing the Seesaw program, Google Classroom, and Apex Learning as our learning management systems as of this point in time. Is there any questions so far on any of the stuff that we talked about for instruction? Okay, talking about operations, attendance. During the 2019-2020 school year, TEA waived the 90% attendance requirement and compulsory attendance requirements. For the 2021 school year, TEA has indicated all state requirements are in full force. All students enrolled at Roby CISD will be required to attend regular and regardless of the instructional option. Students attending school on campus will have their attendance taken as usual. Students who choose to attend school virtually will be required to show progress daily for each class or course that they are enrolled. And progress can be that they log into the learning management platform and they submit or they complete a prescribed number of assignments prior to the end of the school day. And the end of the school day for a virtual student is actually 11:59 p.m. So they have actually all the way through the end of the day to have all of that done. And we just have to have documentation that they had that done prior to the end of the actual day. It is critical that students who do not attend school on campus can be reached by school staff throughout the day. So this is not something where a student goes virtual and they are not working all day long. It's something that if we want to call them, that we need to have a number that we can reach that student at throughout the day so that we can ensure that they are understanding the materials, that they are remaining engaged, and that they're turning in assignments on time so that we can ensure that they are present, they do not have any truant behavior, and that we receive funding for those students as well. Students who do not meet the daily attendance requirements will receive an absence, and again, those can lead towards truancy for parent and guardians. Roby CISD is prepared to file truancy charges against any guardians whose children meet the state requirements for truancy. And so this is not last year's spring semester. This is the new system, and if a student is going to use the option of virtual learning, then they will be held to an accountability standard that Roby CISD sets and is expected. Mobile devices. Oh, yes, sorry. Any questions? Okay. Mobile devices. Currently at this time, because of our kind of our situation with our mobile devices, and also to limit some of our touching of additional surfaces, we are going to allow students to bring their own devices to school to use those. They will be required to register those devices in the campus office. They will be able to be used on school property, and they will only be restricted to use schoolwork and except for during designated breaks that the district decides those would be. Those typically are in between class periods when they're changing classes is usually the designated break, and also during lunchtime. Students who have used the personal technology will be subject to forfeiture of the device and will be returned for a fee. And we have a fee schedule in place. For the first offense, it's $5. Second offense, it's $10. And the third and subsequent offenses would be $15 a piece to get those devices back. And so that's kind of currently how we're working that through. One of the things we're thinking about, especially with exposure to COVID-19, is the touching of surfaces. And so if we can have a student that can bring their mobile device in and use that device and take that from class to class, they are only touching their device and not another one. If we have a Chromebook that's being used in the classroom, when first period student uses that, when the second period student comes in, we'll have to sanitize that device for the second period student to use it, and then and then third period, fourth period. So that's kind of currently the thinking on the mobile device procedures. For extracurricular activities, Roby CISD has always encouraged every student to participate in activities outside the classroom. We believe that extracurricular activities provide opportunities for students to learn, grow, and play. Students who are attending on campus will be allowed to continue all extracurricular activities. However, students who are choosing the virtual school option will not be able to participate in extracurricular activities unless that specific activity can be completed in a virtual setting. And so that would be like if they, football, basketball, golf, track, those are football and basketball, any team sports that cannot be accomplished in a virtual setting. If it is like an academic contest, they can work through that in a virtual setting, then we would allow that to be the case. This is something that is ongoing. This is something that the board will have input on. Everything that we're talking about now, you guys have full input on exactly what you want to see in the plan. This is one that many different school districts are doing all sorts of different things. Some are saying, absolutely, if you're on a virtual, you do no extracurricular. If you are in a virtual, you can still do it. But UIL has left that up to the districts to decide how they choose to make their requirements for that measure. So does anybody have any questions? Okay.
Anyone have any questions?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay, dress code. Students' dress code will be unchanged, whether they are attending class or they are online. If they are going to be online using video, then they need to be wearing something appropriate. So they do not need to be just rolling out of bed and having nothing on, or just, they need to have appropriate attire on whenever they are on video through our school systems. Safety is one that we are not really going to release anything at this point in time. We do have a SHAC meeting coming up, School Health and Advisory Council, that will kind of work through some of the safety precautions before we can really give you any information on that. So there's really nothing for me to release there. The professional training, I will start doing virtual learning opportunities for staff starting tomorrow. We'll be doing virtual learning, working with our new line televisions, looking at all the virtual learning software, those types of things. So we'll be doing those trainings on Tuesday of this week and Thursday, July 30th. We'll have, I'll do Microsoft trainings with the staff on July 16th and the 28th. And then I'll do Google trainings on the 16th and the 28th as well. And so that's going to be how we're going to do some of our professional development for getting us ready for this virtual learning environment. And communication wise, we're still working on some of the communication plans, but Parent Square and Facebook are going to be major key players in that for us, especially in getting the information out to our parents and our students. Counseling and mental health is another area that we're working on. It's just something that we're not able to really provide you at this point in time. And so that's kind of where we are. And so that's the end of the presentation. Is there any questions, comments, concerns, anything that you feel that we need to further address? It is still working in progress. And I will say once again, this is a work in progress and not official.
Anyone have any comments, questions?
All right. You will be happy to know I am done.
All right, thank you, Mr. Carter. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Carter? All right, thank you. Next is Athletic Director report, Coach Pintola.
Yeah, we've been doing our summer strength and conditioning camp. We've been averaging about 25 boys and 25 girls every day. We've done it Monday through Thursday. Last week we were off, and that was a UIO recommendation. We just thought we needed to follow it just in case, based on their reasoning. But we started back up today. We had about 15 boys show up. So we're back in that progress. In turn, the track was completely done. They've gone through, they did fix up the curve. They laid some topsoil down on some of the, I guess the holes they left in the track or on the ground. They did fix the fence. They got a few pieces left to do on the fence, but they extended the fence out. I mean, it's up. They just got to put some, I guess, those caps on the fence post. They couldn't find the existing ones, but that's all they lack on it. But other than that, they picked everything up. I mean, I'm pleased with what they did. The only other thing is, last week virtually we attended the 6-man coaching clinic, and on their final day, the UIO director got on there and kind of addressed some things. So her statement to all of us was that their plan is to go on with athletics just as normal, that they don't have any anticipation of it being any different. But she did mention that that UIL has to follow TA guidelines and any mandates by the governor. So in terms of attendance, so if we were to have a game tomorrow, stadiums could only be at 50% capacity. So we'd have to have a plan for 50% capacity. So as Abbott changes it, if he changes to 75, we can go up to 75. It's based on his recommendations in terms of that. But in terms of everything else, I mean, we're pretty much open to everything being exactly the same, minus guidelines that are they haven't officially released anything. But I know they're sending something out that's going to have a lot of recommendations. Recommendations aren't something we necessarily have to do, but I do think it's something that we need to look into once they kind of send everything out. I know kind of some of the big things are, whether or not we can wash everything in-house or not. I mean, because some of their stuff won't get washed if we're not doing it. The use of lockers is going to be another issue. Those are all TA things right now. State of Texas things. The water bottles are right now kind of an issue. So we'll have to address kind of a way to do that. And then, I mean, just locally, we'll have to kind of look at, simple things like, how do we want to hand out programs? Do we want to hand things out? I mean, that's physical contact. We've discussed possibly putting something where they can take we just put it online and they can do it that way. Some of the other things that they've discussed are whether or not we want to simulcast a game, either in football or basketball or whatever the sport is because of COVID-19, but it's only for this year. So if that happens, both schools have to be in agreement for that to happen. If both schools are not in agreement, then we don't necessarily have to, but it's a way for people that choose not to go out to have a place to either watch it or listen to it, whichever version we decide to do it. Now, we'd have to have the capability of doing it, and that's still kind of an issue. But those are just kind of some of the things that they mentioned. But other than that, I mean, I don't have anything else unless y'all have questions.
I think there's a whole lot of questions, but we don't.
I may not have all the answers, but yeah.
Yeah, where to start? All right, anyone else have any questions for Coach? All right, thank you, Coach. Next is a business manager report. Ms. Lakey.
All right. We're going to be short and sweet as well. In terms of comparison of revenue and expenditures to budget, we are right about 91% on both. Cash balance right now is 3.8. Let's see. In terms of expenditures to budget, right now we're not looking too bad. We have a month left to go. The only one I might foresee any issue might be maintenance for things that we've fixed this year. As you can see, if you look on the financial report 3050, the one with the 3-page, page 3, you'll see that we have 61,700 left in that account. That's including payroll, which is budgeted at 61 as well. So as you can see, that kind of is mainly payroll left. Other than that, all the others are okay. But I do want to mention that next month, if any, I will be making budget amendments that I'll be presenting to you guys. And one of those I do know for sure to give you a heads up is that I'll be moving some payroll from function 11, which is instruction, to function 61, which is our daycare. That's money that was already budgeted for those people. I just need to move it out of the function 11 to 61 for daycare because we don't provide instruction to our daycare. So other than that, do you guys have any other questions on those things?
You want to have any questions for Ms. Lakey? All right, thank you, Ms. Lakey. Superintendent's report, Mr. Cook.
Yes, on that printout that you can see, just put some data there at the top from the past years to 1920 school year about enrollment and praised values and tax rates and fund balance. So you can kind of see the comparison from the last 5 years or so. It's just FYI. Number 1 on the list, board training. Hopefully all of you have completed at least your 5 training videos online. I know I completed my 5, and did you ever get a chance to put your codes in?
I put my codes in, but I'm not sure whether they went or not, so we need to check and see. But
now, I think the timeline on that is 30 days from the conference, so in order for you to get those videos watched and get your codes, and once you get your code at the end of the video, then you type it in and it credits you. They said it was going to be less credit if you watched it after the fact, but when I put my codes in, it still gave me 1 credit for each one, so I don't think it...
Well, I had one that was 0.75.
Did you?
And then the next one I put in was 1.25. So it came out to 5 when it was all said.
Okay. Well, so just a reminder for y'all to finish that.
Do we need to give you anything from that?
Not right now, I think, because I put mine in, but I can't see a way to print it out yet. So till we figure that out.
So that's what makes me nervous. I've got my codes at the house.
I saw your codes
Not
on
sure.
the piece of paper, yeah.
How are you supposed to put them in?
You're supposed to go online on that SLI website, and it's like something like nycecm.org or something like that is where you can enter what you enter is that code, and it comes up the name of the training, and like it said 1.0 for me. And then as I put them in, it just adds to my list, so I can see my list of all 5 of them.
Yeah, and you're supposed to answer how we have always when we go, we got to answer questions whether it was good material and it's got crap like that on there. Stuff like that on there.
There you go.
So hopefully that y'all are taking care of the SLI part on that deal. We do have that evaluating and improving student outcomes training. That's a new training, part of House Bill 3, that we have to participate in every other year. And so ours is set for July 23rd via Zoom. I think when we Zoom with Region 14 with this, there'll be other districts participating as well. So we're not going to be the only one there, because I think they only offered it twice this summer. So I'm sure there'll be quite a number of districts on there. But we got to figure out how you want to do that. You want to Zoom from your house like Mr. Harris is doing tonight, or you want to meet here and watch it together. We don't have to decide that tonight, but just be thinking about that for July 23rd. Region 14 did say that if we were able to have all 8 of us participate in that ISO training on July 23rd, then we could also get credit for a team of 8 team building. And so, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to have a couple people that will not be available for that training, for the ISO training. So we're going to need to do our team of 8 training another day. And that's through Region 14 as well. And it might work out better that way, because that kind of team of 8 kind of talks about goals and objectives in the future and where direction we want our district to go. So it might be good for us to have our own separate training for that. So just as something to be thinking about. As far as the COVID-19 update, I thought Mr. Carter did a great job on his presentation there. Obviously, there's a lot of thought has gone into everything he's put up there so far, and the leadership team has been working really hard on that, getting an instructional plan and a safety plan. I mean, I can perfectly understand parents saying, I want to keep my kid home. My own personal philosophy is I would like every kid to come to school. That's my own personal philosophy on that, but I understand if they want to keep them home for safety reasons. So I feel like it's our job as a district to alleviate those parents' concerns if they are going to put their kid in school. So we are working on a safety plan, and when I get farther down my list here, I'll talk about how y'all can get involved in that as well if you want to. So We are going to have a SHAG meeting, it's a Student Health Advisory Council Committee meeting. Our nurse is putting it together, Ms. Taylor, right now. She has about 9 parents that have volunteered that range from, I don't know, kindergarten all the way up to senior year. So different parents of different age kids, and they're wanting to participate and be able to offer and help look at our safety plan and then offer suggestions and things like that, you know, whether it be having a sanitizer to every classroom, how, you know, we're going to check their temperatures, how we're going to pick them up, load them and drop them off on buses, how we're going to social distance in the cafeteria. The safety plan will encompass all that, everything that we can think of, brainstorm. We'll have an idea of one put together, and then when we have that SHAG meeting, which as you can see at the bottom of your handout there, on July 27th, we're going to have it, and Kevin's participating in this, by the way, Mr. Kelly is, on July 27th. So after that, we should have a solidified safety plan. We should have a solidified instructional plan. And then now the response then would be to send it out to the parents and communicate all that to them. So hopefully they will feel comfortable with putting their kid in school and know that we're going to take care of them as best we can. So, so that's kind of the overall picture right there, but I'll get down to some dates here in a minute. I was wanting to ask you as a board if how much participation you want in this instructional and the safety planning. Now, you know, I put on this sheet right here, I think it's on the second bullet under COVID-19, a special meeting or just a workshop for the instructional and the safety mitigation plan. We could have it on Thursday, July 30th at 6th, if y'all want to have some input and suggestions and listen to what we have. That would be, I think, an opportunity. Now, I'm throwing out all these dates here, and I realize everybody's busy and they've got, you know, but this is kind of a culmination of many things at once. I mean, we're dealing with COVID. We're talking about budget season now. You know, we're talking about potentially doing a bond in November. I mean, we got a lot of things going on at once. And so what I'm asking you is tonight to kind of give me some feedback on how much do you want to participate? Or you say, okay, well, Mr. Carter did a good job on the instructional summary tonight. I think that's good. You're headed in the right direction. Go with it. Or we can sit down as a group on July 30th and say, here's the exact plan before we communicate it to the parents, and we want all of your input. You know, so it's really up to you guys how much involvement y'all want to have. As Mr. Carter said on that third bullet, we are going to do the asynchronous plan. It's not the live one. It's the one where they can watch a recording of a teacher and things like that. Extracurricular activities. There's no decision been made. I mean, I know a while ago it said something about us not allowing them to. Well, right now, my thought is to be as patient as possible at this point. You know, I kept the start of school to August 19th. I didn't want to move it up any sooner because I wanted to see how this COVID thing's going to play out and how this UIL thing's going to play out. And of course, coach will have input, the ag teacher will have input, anybody extracurricular involved, one act play, whatever, they'll all have input before we make that final decision. So no final decision has been made. Plus, I want your input. You know, I've talked to 1A superintendents, and most of them, I can say, they say no. If they're going to stay home and virtual, do remote learning, then they're not going to participate in any extracurricular activity. We're not just going to let them, you know, because if they don't feel like the school is safe enough for them to come to school, you know, I can't speak for them, but most of them are saying no. I can see it both ways. I really can, because one is, you know, they're remote learning, but how do you keep them connected to the school? How do you keep them engaged? Extracurricular activities may be a way, but at the same time, if, you know, a parent's saying, well, I just don't feel comfortable with my kid being at school around other kids during this COVID crisis, then I don't know about sending them to practice every day, you know, where say you're in football and you're banging heads every day. I mean, you're not practicing social distance, I can tell you that. So there's a lot of questions. You know, the thing is about UIO, if you're a full-time student, if you participate in school 4 hours a day, you're considered a full-time student, and that makes you eligible for extracurricular activities. So if we can prove that by remote learning, they're still engaged 4 hours a day, can we legally keep them from participating? I don't know. You know, that's another question that hadn't been, right now, it's a local decision. It's a local decision. So that's a big issue coming up too. I think that is inside all this, that a decision has not been made. Does anybody have any thoughts or suggestions on that extracurricular part, or do you, I mean, you don't have to, I mean, it's up to you.
Are you asking us on the July 30th meeting of
Yes.
how much? Okay.
Yep.
My personal opinion is I think the board ought to stay at a little higher level and take the recommendations from administration.
Okay.
However, if one of the board members wants to be more involved, then I think they ought to attend the SHAC meeting on the 27th.
Mm-hmm.
And that way, if you're wanting to be more involved in the level, then you can attend the SHAC meeting and help bring that with the administration, bring the overall picture to the board.
If we do have a workshop to talk about instruction plan and the safety plan, and y'all want to have that workshop, we can address all these issues at that time and come up with a solid plan before we commit it to the parents and everything in the community.
Have we got time to do that as part of our training for our team of 8 before it has to get, and that's pushing the timeline, I guess, pretty hard, getting that all done before the start of school?
I don't know that. I don't have a team. I was hoping we could do the team of 8 with ISO, but now that I don't think we can, I'll have to look into getting a team of 8 date schedule. So that's something that's not on here, by the way, this team of 8 training.
Can we do team of 8 virtually too?
Yes. Sure can. Let's see, the third item on my sheet there is called budget workshop. This is, I call it following the same format we had last year. We had our August board meeting, our regular scheduled meeting. Then we had a budget workshop. And then the next, at the end of August, we adopted the budget and the tax rate. So I figured you want to go the same route this year and have that workshop and have participation before we do the adopt budget and the tax rate. Am I correct on that y'all want to do another workshop? I mean, I think it's vital. I mean, with COVID and all this going on right now, and the way that turbines are going to impact our property appraisal. So, I mean, it's going to be unique.
Is the state going to cover any of the COVID expenses?
They are, yes, sir. We have two things going on. It's called an ESSER grant, ESSER, I don't know what it stands for, I can't remember, and the CARES Act. The ESSER grant is a grant we obviously apply for, and I think we've got, I want to say, Kendra, you may have to help me, but I think it's like $40,000 or something like that to help. 47,000, and you can apply that different ways. Like if you want to apply it to supplies, I've heard some people, and I may be wrong on this, but payroll, you can apply it to next year's budget, or you can spend it this year. So we still got some time on that, so I'm kind of waiting to see how the budget's going to play out this year before I spend that money or anything like that. So
I think you can also use some for Chromebooks and stuff, that grant.
Okay.
And then I was at a workshop and they said most schools will probably wait to spend it until this next year.
You know, and each school is different. So our needs are different than the school, 10 miles away or whatever. So we may need to spend it on technology now, so that's something we're gonna have to decide pretty soon. And then of course, federally, FEMA is giving some reimbursements for supplies and things like that. And we earmarked all the things that we thought we could use for that situation. So those are the two things we're looking into. Let's see. Of course, I think I talked to you about the safety grant before. We did receive the $25,000 And what we put it in for is for exterior doors, security fencing, bullet resistance glass or film for entrances, and a new door locking system. So we have till May of 2021 to spend that money. So right now, we're just kind of pumping the brakes on that until we figure out what we need to do there. You got a board member election coming up, of course, in November. And let me tell you, I do have Mr. Posey, Mr. Carrion, Mr. Estes coming up. This is an application for a place on the Roby ISD Board of Trustees election ballot. So if you are rerunning, this is your application right here. I went ahead and made a copy for y'all so y'all could have it. Also, I have the dates sent to me by Pat Thompson, the county clerk, just talking about the board election. And so y'all can have that as well to kind of give you a reminder. Does everybody want a copy of these dates? I think it's good to know one way or the other. Okay. So the last thing down there is the important dates, and this is where I need your input from the board, please. Saturday, July 18th is the first day to file for a place on the election ballot. So those are the 3 board members that we have that are on, will be on, or could possibly be on the ballot. Thursday, July 23rd is our ISO training via Zoom. We got to decide whether we're going to meet here and watch it together or watch it from home or do both. You think if I send y'all an email, y'all can let me know one way or the other on that?
Does that, do we all have to be in the same place for that to count as a team of 8 training? Or if we had half here and half on?
That's a great question. I don't have an answer to that. I wasn't smart enough to ask that question, so.
But I just think that'd be something good to know. You know, it might give us a little bit more flexibility on.
I'll find out from
working a team of 8.
Mr. Ritchie and check on that for you and get back with you. Okay. July 27th is the SHAC meeting that we're talking about introducing our safety plan. You know, all the details about how we're going to function when school starts and people come on campus, and how we're going to protect our kids and try to keep them as safe as possible and alleviate parents' concerns and things like that. We'll have a plan kind of prepared, but we definitely want input from the parents that are going to be there. Any board members are welcome to go. Mr. Kelly's already volunteered to be on the committee, so he'll be there for sure. But that's something you don't have to tell me. If you just want to show up Monday, July 27th, it'd be great. Of course, we'll be social distancing in the auditorium, and we'll have, you know, sanitizer when you walk in, and encourage people to bring masks. And maybe by then it might be required. We might have over 20 cases, and I don't know. But now Thursday, July 30th. This is it doesn't have to be a special board meeting. It could be a workshop if y'all want to, you know, where there's no action taken by y'all. It's just having your input if you want it. This is to review the instructional and safety plan. If you want input on that, of course, you can do it anytime. I'm not so limited to July 30th, but that is a chance for us to meet as a group and review the instructional plan that Mr. Carter talked about today, but in more detail if you want to, and also the safety plan. If you look at our safety plan so this is following the SHAC meeting, and so this is kind of, here's the final safety plan, and if you want any changes to it, let us know, you know, before we.
So is that something that we need to adopt as a board, or is that something that?
We need to adopt what instructional plan we're using. We don't need to adopt the safety plan. But we'll be using the asynchronous method. We'll have to adopt that. Next month, we'll have to do 2 attestations, one for asynchronous and one for synchronous, just in case. And then we have to, once we get those attestations, then we got to submit that to TEA, submit our plan with that, and then by October 1st, and then they're going to give us feedback whether it's approved or not. So yes, in August we'll be doing that. So this,
But if we're reviewing instructional and mitigation, and the board as a whole decides to, I guess what I'm trying to figure out, are we in danger of not calling a special board meeting if we as a whole decide that, hey, we want something different other than what you're bringing to us, or?
no, if it's just a workshop, there's no action taken. It's just, there's no voting. It's
Just make sure that we're clear.
Yeah. Just
They're sending it on up the line for higher approval, and it takes us out of the loop anyway.
Yeah, TA's got to, I mean, we put it together what we think will be beneficial for our kids and our staff and faculty and parents, everybody. And then we submit it to them by October 1st. And then they're going to give us feedback before the end of the semester and tell us whether it's good or not. Sometimes they'll send it back to us and say, well, we don't like this particular part, fix it. And then you resubmit it, you know, so. And then we have a regular scheduled board meeting on August 10th. We have August 17th, your last day to file for place on the election ballot. Tuesday, August 18th is budget workshop. And then the 24th is a special meeting to adopt the budget and set a tax rate. So I know that's a lot of stuff. I get it. I really do. And I don't blame you. You know, it's tough. But as a board, are you feeling like you want to meet in a workshop to go over the instructional, or to us to review the instructional plan and the safety plan with you? Or would you rather just participate in the SHAC meeting on your own? Are you good with what Mr. Carter was talking about tonight? It's not finalized, like he said, but it's on the right path, obviously. So what's y'all's thoughts on that?
Kind of thinking like Jeff said, if you're gonna make a recommendation, and you gotta send it on TEA, it's really kind of, we're just gonna go along with it. So I don't see it's that big of a deal for the board to really have hands on yet.
Okay. And it's perfect, fine.
That's just my thought.
Any other comments?
So just mark off the 30th then. We don't need to have a meeting for that. And if you're welcome to come to the SHAC meeting, I mean, that'll be the safety part. It won't be the instruction part, but it'll be the safety part.
You good with that, Mr. Harris? You gotta take it off.
Yeah. I'll be on vacation that week anyway.
Okay. All right. I think that answers all my questions, and make sure there's nothing. Yep.
All right. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Cook on superintendent's report? All right, next we come to the consent agenda items. We have action items A, B, and C. Mr. Cook, would you like to go over those with us?
Yes, sir. Let's see, first is the minutes.
Yes.
I don't think there's anything to review there unless y'all say
Everyone had a
something.
chance to read over the minutes from the previous meeting. Then the tax.
And right now, we, let's see, we collected $22,308.11, or the appraisal district did in June. And on the current taxes, they collected $19,000, a little over $19,000 in June, and delinquent taxes around $250. So right now, the appraisal district's collected overall 97.65%, which the appraisal district's done a great job in the past. I think it's either been really close to 99% the last several years. So it looks like they're on route to do the same thing this year. So I don't think there's anything.
Mr. Cook or Ms. Lakey, is there anything that you'd like to point out in the bills? Or anyone have any questions on?
I guess just the big ticket items in this one was the John Deere tractor we paid for that was approved by the board. There is some residual track construction bills. I think we still have a little bit left. I couldn't tell you the amount exactly, but that'll probably be on the next board meeting bills. And then stuff for the daycare awning. And I think that's the big stuff. If there's any other questions, I can answer them, I'm sure.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Mr. Cepeda and Mr. Sanchez. They did a great job on that awning at the daycare. Our poor kiddos, last year, they go outside that door, they're in the sun, you know. They try to schedule the outdoor activities when they're in the shade from the building, but that awning's gonna make a big difference. It's really gonna make it nice. So appreciate their efforts on that. And it's good that we have the talent that we can do it ourselves. We don't have to outsource it. You know.
Also, I want to point out that anyone has noticed the little line that's on the building down there. Ms. Cook has been working on that project, so appreciate that. She's doing that.
She's an artist.
Anyone have any questions on the consent agenda? If not, what's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion to approve all the consent agenda items.
I'll second.
Stormy has made a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through C, seconded by Dakota. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next is action items. First, we have action item A, review, approve, disapprove the update 2021 academic Roby CISD calendar.
What we've already approved a calendar for next year, but because of the COVID and I think situations that's going now that may cause entire school closures, we decided to make some changes to the calendar. The changes are really things that you can't visibly see except for 1 week, and that is the last week in May. On the previous calendar that we adopted, the last day was May 20th, Thursday, May 20th, and graduation was the 21st. With this calendar, it adds that last week, and so graduation would be on the 28th, and the last day of school would be the 27th. Now, I'm telling you the reason why this has changed. And also, so the rest of it has not changed. Now, the day-to-day schedule, we added 20 minutes to the instructional day. So whereas we went from 7:55 to 3:30, the first bell rang at 7:55 in the morning, 3:30 in the afternoon. That was 455 minutes in a day, okay? And so if you counted up all the instructional days, if you count up all the instructional days in the year at 455 minutes, minus that last week in May, then we would have 3 days of flexibility. So that means, you know, like last year, or this past school year, we had 2 snow days. So we had 3 days to work with, we had 2 snow days, we didn't have to make them up. Now, this calendar that I'm presenting tonight, said it will go from 7:50 a.m., which I gave the staff a vote. I gave them 3 choices. They could do 10 minutes before the normal starting time and 10 minutes after, because I'm adding 20 minutes a day. Or they could do 5 minutes before school, the normal time, and 15 minutes after, or they could do all 20 minutes after 3:30. The staff voted, and they elected to have the first bell ring at 7:50. So we're actually starting school 5 minutes earlier. And then, but instead of ending at 3:30, we go to 3:45. So 7:50, 3:45. That would give us 475 minutes a day. Plus, if we add the 4 days at the last week in May, that will give us 15 days of flexibility, right over 15 days. So if we had 10% of the school had COVID and we needed a shutdown for cleaning purposes or whatever, we would have 15 days to work with. Now, if we get to the end of the school year and we haven't used them and we get to that last week in May, they don't have to go that because as long as we meet the 75,600 minutes in a school year, that's all we're required to by law. So we could take that whole week off, that last week in May off, and then still have graduation on the 28th. I don't want to, in my mind, I don't want to move the graduation date no matter what. I'd just rather have it on the 28th, boom, just do it just like that. So.
But on the graduation date, would it really cause issues with parents putting together invitations and stuff like that? So
Yeah.
That'd be a challenge.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So really, like I said, the structure of it, I mean, it looks exactly the same except for that last week in May, but we are adding minutes. I just think that in this time, we need flexibility. We need those 15 days just in case. We really do. So I recommend that we approve this new calendar for the 2021 school year.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion to approve the new updated calendar.
I
Chris
second.
has made a motion to approve the calendar, seconded by Danny Carrion. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next is action item B, review, approve, disapprove Roby CISD employee salary schedule for the 2021 academic year.
You see the schedule there presented before you. There was one change that might be different, and it was because of bus routes. Because of COVID, right now we have 4 bus routes every day. And one of those bus routes has 40-something kids on it. So it's our largest one by far. What I would like to do is what we need to do is split that. We have a driver that's certified, of course, that wants to do it. And so we'd end up having 5 bus routes instead of 4. So that'll actually increase the transportation by probably around $7,000. So the total amount, $44,000 before, now we're looking at around $51,000 increased payroll from last year, from this past school year to next year. So 51,000 compared to an average of, I think we talked about this, it's over 100,000. Last year it was 100, I don't know, last year was an extreme because of all the teacher raises. Last year was 170, I think, thousand. Normally it's like over 100,000. So we're still looking in pretty good shape. Now, what this salary schedule does include is some raises for individuals. And I'll be glad to review those with you, with those particular individuals and their raises, and tell you how much it is if need be. But so we're looking at approving this salary schedule for next year, and it's going to be around a $51,000 increase. So I'm recommending that we approve it. So that way Kendra can start putting these numbers in the budget. So we can start looking at that for next year. Because the 12-month employees, their budget ends, Kendra, am I right, June and at the end of July and 1st of August, is that right, for the 12-month people?
I just paid out 12-month people last pay period.
So we have, we have a few employees on that 12-month, and we need to make a decision on their salaries for next year.
Any questions?
I would assume this would be more of a budget item instead of just standalone on its pay scale for us to make approval
I think what we've got to do is give this is preliminary so that they know, and that we're not actually approving any raises or anything, but we're approving this for the budget so that it's there in case in case we decide to do the raises. Which the contract employees, staff, theirs is all guaranteed. So those raises are guaranteed. The state mandates that. And then we've also mandated the ladder that goes a little past the state. But then the hourly employees and administrators are the ones that would need to be, we need it in the budget to approve it, because if we don't have it in the budget and then we approve a raise, then we've got to redo the budget. Other questions?
Approve something, you don't know who's getting what, or what, it's just a proposal. Or is it just like you're saying?
Except for the contract employees who have guaranteed pay rate increases, which would be the teachers, basically. This is just approving the money to be there to do the increases.
I mean, it's up to y'all, but if you want to go into closed session, talk about individual salaries, what they're getting, you know, what kind of raise we're looking at.
This is just a preliminary for the budget meeting.
It's not actually a raise until we know.
And then we'll approve the raises at the next budget.
Is that what you want, Kendra?
The 12-month employees need to be, payroll cutoff is in 2 days. And so the 12-month employees have to be rolled over within these next 2 days for me to be able to pay the 12-month employees.
But you know, if we waited until next month to approve specific people, we could make up the difference, couldn't we?
You can, but it's back pay, so it's not TRS certified. It won't be TRS paid, so it won't go towards your TRS total. So technically, that's not going towards your retirement if you don't approve it because it has its back pay.
How did we get down to this all these years before not doing this?
I'm sorry.
How did we do this all these years before without approving this before budget?
Well, your 12 months always been July 31st, August 1st, right? I mean, August 1st, July 31st, right, Kendra?
The contract always ends in July. So August to July.
I can't remember exactly, but I think when Mr. Dixon was here, those 12-month employees, I guess we approved them in July. I can't remember exactly.
And I don't remember ever doing this. I just figured it just rolled on and then the budget covered it.
I can't testify to how y'all did it, but that had to have been approved at some point in July.
Yeah, I think we always had this brought to us. Do you remember, Dan?
July, yes, I think you're right. She's right. We always approved it in July.
So,
but it was discussed, though.
Do we want to discuss individual salaries?
I think we need to go into closed.
Yes.
Okay.
Review it before we make any action.
All right. Let me find my stuff. And we will go into close. Ed,
Before y'all do that,
yes.
the, under personnel matters, which I'm assuming that this is where y'all are gonna sign for a justification to go into closed session.
Yes.
This section permits the executive session deliberations concerning an individual officer or employee. Deliberations about a class of employees, however, must be held in an open session. For example, when a governmental body discusses salary scales without referring to a specific employee, it must meet in open session. That's from the open meetings handbook from the Attorney General's office.
But are we going in to discuss individuals?
I think what we're going in to discuss is
individual pay raises and not a whole class of people and workforce.
Okay. So this is an individual person or a group of people?
Well, there's probably gonna be more than one, but I don't think it'd be classified as a group.
Mr. Posey,
yes.
What time did you say you were going into closed session? We need to go ahead. You've already closed it. So when do we need to do that? What's the time?
At this time, this board will now adjourn into executive session pursuant to the following sections of Texas Open Meeting Act Texas Government Code, chapter,
551 dash or dot 074.
that's correct, 074, and it is currently 852.
Can I ask one more question?
Yes.
What is so sensitive and important of a discussion that makes this board rather run the risk of violating state laws as opposed to allowing the general public to be party to this conversation? All of these salaries are a matter of public record once they've been approved.
I think because we're gonna be talking about an individual's name and that salary attached at the time with a pay raise instead of saying admin or teacher step or whatever.
I understand that, but even that individual's salary would be a matter of public record.
It is, and a question has been asked. Thank you. Did he mute? No, we didn't mute that.
Blue lights are turned red.
Mr. Posey,
Yes.
you'll need to leave that on, and I will move Mr. Harris into the room with you all into a breakout room. And so you guys will be able to, so you'll leave yours on, and I'll get y'all moved in as soon as everybody has exited the room.
Okay.
Mr. Posey, everybody should be back in now. Hang on, Mr. Posey. We are good, Mr.
Good,
President.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Carter.
Yes, sir.
At this time, we have before us, action item B, approved Roby CISD employee salary schedule for the 2021 academic school year. In this schedule that we have before us, of course, contract teachers are at a kind of a state raise that they automatically get, but other raises are from 1.5% to 25% to different groups of the
25 cents.
No, 25 cents.
to 25, did I say 20?
You said 25%.
It's 25 cents.
Oh, right, 25 cents. 1.5%
Yes.
to 25 cents. That hourly increase. And if more details are wanted, you visit with Mr. Cook on that. Do we have any more discussion on the salary schedule? What's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion to approve the salary schedule, the 1.5%, the 25 cents and the 50 cents to designated.
I think just approving the salary schedule that's presented is good. All those are included in the salary schedule.
As presented.
Okay. Yeah, as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Dakota's made a motion to approve the salary schedule for the 2021 academic school year, seconded by Stormy. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next is action item C, review, approve, disapprove Roby CISD substitute teacher list for the 2021 school year.
Most of these are return substitutes that we've used in the past. And a couple of new ones, we've already checked all the backgrounds, are all good to go. And a couple of them need to get fingerprinted, but this is the initial list for substitutes for this coming school year. So I recommend that we approve the list.
Anyone have any questions, concerns on the substitute list?
We approve this list and their fingerprints come back with something negative and be waived off the list.
Yeah, we just won't use them. Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Dakota's made a motion to approve the substitute list, seconded by Chris. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next is action item D, review the English as a second language annual report, ESL report.
Each year we do this report. It seems like last year we had Ms. Heron. She was our ESL coordinator. She gave the report, but she's retired and we'll miss her, of course. But this is just information for all of you to have that tells you, like if you look at that second page, LEP is limited English proficiency type students. We have 11 of those. You can see our graduation rate for those kids is 100%. We have English as a second language. That's what ESL stands for. We have 15 students participating in the ESL program overall. Let's see, it's just data for y'all to know. we had to apply for a waiver. The second to the last line, did the district operate under a bilingual ESL waiver? We did in 18-19 school year because we didn't have ESL certified teachers on staff. Those are but since then, we've had all our ELA teachers, our English language art teachers are all ESL certified. We just hired Miss Johnson. She needs to get certified this summer, but she'll be the last one. We had planned before COVID to get math teachers certified first. My goal is to get all the core teachers ESL certified. So if we get English as a second language student in there, they'll be able to, they'll be trained to help those kids be successful in their classes. So next summer, we'll get math as well. So we don't have to apply for a waiver anymore because we meet the ESL requirements. So it's a step in the right direction, but just know we're moving forward with other subjects starting next summer. So I just recommend that is it just a review on this? It's just
Yes.
Yeah, then there's no approval for that.
All right. Anyone have any questions on the ESL annual report? All right, next we have action item E, review, approve, disapprove the TASB risk of management contribution and coverage summary proposal for 2021 academic year.
Okay. That first page kind of gives you an idea of what we spent last year or this 19-20 school year and what we'll spend for insurance on the 2021 school year. And it kind of breaks it down for you, and you see the biggest line is the privacy and information security. I'm assuming that goes along with the new cybersecurity rules and things like that. So now we've got that extra piece right there, $2,500. TASB risk management, that's the program we've been using, I don't know for how long, but since before I got here. But I think next summer, I would like to maybe shop a little bit that number. This year, the total cost is going to be $59,443 as opposed to last year, $52,762. So we're going up $7,000. And I'm not saying that's why I'm shopping around. But there are other options out there that I've talked to some suits about, and they may have some better bang for our buck. So that's something we're going to do a lot of research on. I'm going to do a lot of research on next spring. Apparently, you got to do it in early spring before you can decline the contract. So I recommend that we approve the TASB risk management proposal for 2021 academic year.
Anyone have any questions? What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion on that, be 2021.
Chris made a motion to approve the TASB risk management contribution coverage for the 2021 academic year, seconded by Stormy. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next is action item F, review, disapprove a 10-cent price increase for school breakfast lunches and for the 2021 year.
Did it go up last year already? It goes up. The prices are going to go up 10 cents every year.
Since the last 15 years or so.
That's what it's going to keep doing.
One year they went up like a $2. Let's say what? I normally eat on Fridays.
I tried to show you the fancy template that they use to figure it out. This is not me. This is the Region 14's helping with this, how they figure out the price. But it's going to be a 10-cent increase for breakfast and lunch. And then you can see the new value, pre-K through 5, it'll be $2.65 for lunches, and 6 through 12, $2.90.
Still the cheapest lunch in town.
Yeah.
Maybe except for the hospital, they've got a pretty cheap one.
Hospital I'll go to, it ain't cheap.
I think the issue is to get federal funding, and we have to go up 10 cents.
Yes.
That is the minimum we have to go with.
They get my piggy bank every Friday.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion for the 10-cent increase.
I'll second.
Chris has made a motion to approve the 10-cent increase in breakfast and lunch, seconded by Danny. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Sorry, Mr. Harris, give you more time next time. Next is action item G, review, approve, disapprove of facilitate use agreement with the American Red Cross.
This was brought to me by the mayor of Roby, and I guess the American Red Cross has reached out to the city officials and asked that our school facilities be made available in case of an emergency or a disaster, and to use our buildings as a possible shelter or to provide disaster services for people if they need a place to go. So this is an agreement that lasts as long as until one of us, either the Red Cross or our district, turns in notice that we are canceling the agreement.
So is this every year we approve it?
No.
We approve it, or is it just?
It's just going to be
until we disapprove?
Until we disapprove. Now, the question I have for y'all is on page 3 of this agreement. Page 3 of this agreement, number 9, the fee. This paragraph does not apply when the facility is used as a shelter. The Red Cross does not pay fees to use facilities as shelters. Both parties must initial one of the 2 statements below. A, owner will not charge a fee for the use of the facility, or B, the Red Cross will pay blank amount per day, week, or month for the right to use and occupy the facility. The Red Cross does have they can ask us to use like our cafeteria manager if they're having to serve food to citizens. They can ask us to use our custodians to clean up after on a daily basis or whatever. Electricity, water, all those things like that. I talked to Mr. Cepeda about this, and I was asking, gosh, how much, if we were gonna, possibly pay a custodian to help clean up after people who have used the facility, not as a shelter, but if they were actually feeding people and things like that. What do you think a fair amount would be? And he thought maybe $100 per week would cover the cost of a custodian or cafeteria worker and our utilities. So I'm good with going no fee. If y'all want to go no fee for the American Red Cross, or I'm good with whatever amount you want. I just put $100. I hadn't submitted this yet, obviously. It's just for you to look at. So I think 100 is fair, but that's just me. Or we can go no fee. Whatever y'all want to do.
I would nearly just soon charge the $100 a week, and then if something happened, depending on what the situation is, the school could give the 100 back to them or not charge them or something. But I don't know. To me, I've been trying to think of every way in the world this could be abused, and I hope it would never be abused.
I can give you a scenario.
Do what?
I can give you a scenario.
Well, those are the things that kind of worry me a little bit about it.
I mean, to me, if it's local and it's our people, county, whatever, that's, I think I'm all for it.
Yeah.
But when you put a big entity in, and let's say there's a national disaster on the coast, a bad hurricane, and they ship a lot of people up here, and they say it's during the summer, we're out of school, and a length of time, $100 a week ain't gonna cover possible damage. And the other side is grocery stores in that Houston area where Red Cross has come in and took over facilities, a church, for instance, and the government was reimbursing them so much per meal per day that they was handing out, and the church wound up with all the problems afterwards.
To me, the $100 a week would just maybe kind of keep them from saying, hey, that Roby school's not charging us nothing, let's send them there.
I mean, I'm all for helping out, I agree, I'm just looking for the pitfall.
But I don't want to be abused.
Well, what's the, it says until we terminate it, but is there guidelines to, if they begin using it for something, can we not just say, hey, y'all are taking advantage of us, or this situation's not working out, and stop it, or is it continue through that process until that they're done using it for that disaster?
You gotta give them a written notice a year in advance.
I mean, that's what I would be worried about, say refugees or something. I mean, people that don't care anything about our small towns, or our facilities. I would wanna know if you say, hey, y'all are not, this is for y'all's to help y'all, but you're not gonna sit here and tear our stuff up and then leave and we're left with the damage. Do we have the right to?
Well, I mean, they do have insurance, up to $1 million insurance across us. And I believe it says in here somewhere that you go on an inspection before, and then you go on an inspection after they leave, and that they do pay fair market value for damages. But you're right. I mean, you're right. They can just.
I mean, that's where my concern is. And I mean, like I said, if it was local something, by all means, but if it gets to be a national wide thing, then your circumstances kind of start to change. I mean, and I'm all for helping everybody, but we got to look out for us as well.
Well, just in general, look at what our water bill is, our electric bill, our gas bill per month.
Yeah,
$3,000-4,000.
Keep this thing running, put 100, 200 people in here.
And you think about how bad our septic sewer drainage already is with minimal people.
The second page says upon request and if feasible, so I'm assuming we could turn it away if it wasn't suitable for us.
I'd say we need to kind of keep a little something in there. And $100 a week is not enough to cover an employee or anything like that, but it might be.
More janitors, that's still.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Danny second.
Any second? Harris has then made a motion to approve a facility use agreement with American Red Cross with $100 a week attached to that. Would that be correct, Harris?
Yes, please.
Seconded by Danny. Carry on. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next is action. Yes.
Did you say $100 a week?
Yes, that is correct. I believe that's what you have.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is action item H, leave the August 10th, 2020 regular school board meeting as scheduled. Meet Monday, August 24th, 2020 for the 2021 budget adoption hearing and set the 2021 tax rate. What's the pleasure of the board? Self-explanatory.
So is that an action item or?
Do what?
Is that an action item we have to make a motion on or?
I think we do need to make a motion on that, don't we, Mr. Cook?
I've copied it the same as last year, so I don't remember exactly. We already got the August 10th meeting set.
I don't guess we really have to make a motion to set a meeting. It just has to be posted correctly. Yeah. Is everybody good with those dates?
Yeah, I just want to see if everybody's good now. The August 24th.
What is our proposed, did the state already tell us what our new tax rate's gonna be for this year?
They will, but it's not available yet. They started off saying it was gonna be $1.05 something. It was $6.835 this year, then it's gonna be lower next year, $1.05 something. But our preliminary property values have increased from last year to this year, so it may mean it may be below $1.05, but we got the certified values today from Fisher County already, so I can't answer that yet. I'll be able to tell you August 10th.
Well, it's not state already said, you know, last year's $1.06, this year's gonna be $1.01.
Can't be over what they say.
So I just wonder if they already let that information.
It can be under, but it can't, well, it can't go below a certain amount either, I don't think, can it?
Well, not if we want a balanced budget.
Yeah. So those hearing dates are good for everyone? Or those dates are good? All right. Next is action item I, review, approve, disapprove, apply for a waiver for out-of-district transportation interlocal agreement.
Each year, we make a request to Sweetwater ISD and the superintendent there to see if we could participate in an interlocal agreement to pick up kids from their district and vice versa. And Dr. Drew Howard, I think, is the soup at Sweetwater, and I think they turn us down every year, and he turned us down.
He's new though this year.
Yeah, but he turned us down.
He already turned us down.
So I need to apply for a waiver to see if we can get approved by TEA. 10% of our student population is from Sweetwater.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Stormy has made a motion to approve the waiver for out-of-district transportation interlocal agreement, seconded by Danny. Any other discussion?
This is Chris.
Seconded by Chris, sorry. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next is action item J, review, approve, disapprove contracting with the county clerk of Fisher County to conduct the November 3rd, 20 election.
As you know, she would not conduct our May election if he would have had one for the bond, but she does conduct November elections. So this is a contract with Fisher County, the county clerk, to conduct our election.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion
Second.
for the election.
Chris has made a motion to approve a contract with Fisher County Clerk to do the November 20 election, seconded by Mark Harris. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next is action item K, review, approve, disapprove contracting with the County Clerk of Jones County to conduct the November 3rd, 20 election.
A small portion of our district lies in Jones County, so that's why we need to have them participate as well.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Got you on second, Harris.
Give me.
Danny has made a motion to approve the contract with the Jones County Clerk for the November 3rd, 20 election, seconded by Mark Harris. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next is action item L, review, approve, disapprove the following order of election for our school board trustees election.
Once again, this will be conducted by the Fisher County Clerk, and this is just ordering an election for the school trustee election since we have 3 board members up for re-election in November.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to approve.
Who said that?
Dakota.
Dakota's made a motion to approve the election of the school board trustees election, seconded by Stormy. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next is action item M, consider to take action to adopt and order calling Roby, school building bond election for November 3rd, 2020.
This is the exact terminology the lawyer wanted us to use, and this is just we need to take action, we need to approve this order calling the school board bond election for November 3rd. And they even gave me the lingo you're supposed to say, or whoever. I move that the Board of Trustees, if you decide to do this, I move that the Board of Trustees adopt the order before the board. And then you second. Does anybody need to repeat
This is for the bond election.
Yes.
Get the bond election on the ballot.
Yes.
I figure it's pretty redundant. We've already
Done it several times, seems like.
saying, so I don't see when we really gotta get it all worded right.
Is that a motion?
Where's it at? And I can read
Go
it.
ahead.
I move that the Board of Trustees adopt the order before the board.
Very good.
I'll second the motion.
Before the board.
Stormy has made a motion to approve the order before the board, seconded by Dakota. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. We've already done that.
One more motion.
We need one more motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Dakota's made the motion to adjourn. Who seconded it? Chris seconded it. All those in favor say aye. Harris, was that a no vote?
Ready.
Y'all have a good week.